Hello and good morning to everyone. Yes, listen, notice I say good morning to everyone. I didn't say good afternoon this time because I realize that we're going to be doing this thing in the morning so that I could get an early start of the day, so that I could, rejuvenate myself. Why are we here, you ask? We are here today for more news. Yeah, because we all like news. And I did tell you all that I said tomorrow in the last video. I said quote unquote tomorrow I will get back to you guys. But I was caught up with some things. So tomorrow turned out to be 2 days. I think the last video was on Monday. And now it is Thursday. So that was a 2 day gap. Yes, definitely it was a 2 day gap. But listen, I got news. I always have news. I always have news. There is a relentless supply. Let's see what we can look at today. I told you I was going to be taking a deep dive into some of these interesting articles that I see flash across my computer screen. Here we go. PM defends bill. Wow. You know what? We're going to take a deep dive into this one right here before I continue. In fact, I'm going to give you guys a brief overview of all of these interesting article headlines. So it says, this top one says PM defense bill. That's our first one right out of the gate. New repairs eyed for PMH. Wow, finally we're getting word on that. Okay, GG. We need to be Governor General. I think that's what that means. Hang on. Let me read that properly. GG colon. We need to be thankful for healthcare workers. Most definitely. That is coming from the Governor General. I agree. This one says, dad convicted in son's death. I wonder if he was the murderer. We'll find out soon enough right here on TVN News. Pintard defends Rick Fox. We can see what he did in a little. Deacon jailed years for attempted incest. Oh my goodness. What are these guys doing today in 2025? Pinder asks BPL to provide credit to consumers following outages. Okay. Guess there's that there. Pedestrian killed in traffic accident. Wow. Okay. And then we got some older news in the back. An interesting question. What do you think is the most significant barrier affecting Bahamians' access to home ownership and real estate opportunities? Good question. Christmas season sales up at super value food stores. They're making that Christmas cash. I can tell you that right off the bat. Demonstration farm handed over to Department of Agriculture. Okay. Bahamian firms get spotlight in 10-part UK series. Okay. Bahamas first reports $5.8 million improvement in comprehensive income. Lifestyles, 25 years of Dynamite Daisy. Oh yeah, that woman. I know her. She's a pretty nice lady. Christianity is about doing something. That something being telling others about the love of Jesus. Yeah, that's the main objective. You're supposed to spread his love. You know? Jesus died for us, and what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to spread his love. We're supposed to let everybody know about this Jesus. Okay. Medication and suicide. Probably drugs. Do not give children smartphones as Christmas gifts. Interesting. We got sports here. I'm not a big fan of that. Alright. Tougher punishments to deter human smugglers. Okay. Second term within reach for PLP. Interesting. These are some interesting articles. But you know what we're going to take a deep dive in? We are going to look at PM Defense Bill. This should be pretty interesting to read. And this came out 9 minutes ago. You know something? I wish I could attach audio into this. If I'd have known, you know what? The next time I come to do news, we are actually going to take a listen to these things if I can get clips. Because that should be an interesting ordeal. And comment on those. Next time on TVN News, I will make sure that the necessary equipment is put into place so that we can actually hear those clips. As for right now, we're gonna read this thing. Okay, it says, amid public furor over the smuggling of migrants bill, which was passed in the House of Assembly this week, Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis last night defended the bill, saying it creates no new rights for those who illegally enter Bahamian waters. Quote, migrants who enter our waters because they pay smugglers are in violation of our immigration laws and will be repatriated, as more than 13,000 people have been repatriated in our term already. Close quote. Davis said in an opinion piece published in the Nassau Guardian today, which of course is what we are reading. Hang on a sec. There we go. Sorry, I was trying to fix something. And yes, it is 8 o'clock. Alright, as we continue to read, quote, nothing in the bill limits our power to arrest, detain, charge, or deport persons under the Immigration Act, offering humane treatment and emergency medical care. At the time these boats are intercepted is already the practice of our country and does not create any new rights, let alone the right to stay. Quote, as for non-refoulement, an existing obligation that may change where we return people to come hang on, let me read this over. Give me a second. Okay, quote, as for non-refoulement, an existing obligation that may change where we return people to, there we go, in their country. For example, we might choose a rural port rather than a capital city, but it hasn't stopped repatriation efforts yet, and it won't going forward either. Quote, those shouting that the bill treats these desperate people too kindly are missing the point. The new law goes after the criminals who put them on the boat, so there are many fewer smuggling operations in the first place. Okay. Harsher penalties, drone technology, new go fast boats, a stronger RBDF, Royal Bahamas Defense Force, deeper cooperation with neighbors. These are the policies I support. Denying emergency care to an injured child, for example, that's the policy they support. Quote, our humanity, faith, and our history mean we are a compassionate people, but our small country cannot bear the burdens or tragedies that follow when other nations collapse. Close quote. Free National Movement FNM leader Free National Movement FNM leader Michael Pintard has pledged to repeal the bill if his party is elected to office. During debate on the bill in the House of Assembly on Monday, Minister of National Security Wayne Munro said Section 11, which provided immunity from prosecution to smuggle migrants, would be deleted. Wow. While acknowledging the controversy and uproar this clause created, Munro said it would not have changed anything about the way that migrants who enter the Bahamas illegally are processed. However, Pintard said the government's amendments to the bill cannot fix what is wrong with the legislation. Quote, the bill continues to treat smuggled migrants as victims in a general sense, even where those individuals willingly paid smugglers and chose to enter the Bahamas illegally, close quote. Pintard said, quote, that is not consistent with international practice, close quote. Noting that human trafficking involves coercion and victims of this crime deserve protection. Pintard said human smuggling, quote, involves consent, close quote, adding that migrants in this category, quote, voluntarily join illegal networks to evade lawful entry, close quote. He noted that the bill places operational authority, including temporary residence decisions for smuggled migrants, under the Minister of National Security rather than the Minister of Immigration, which Pintard said, quote, makes no sense, close quote. Pintard was referring to a clause which states that the Minister of National Security, quote, may grant a temporary residence permit to a smuggled migrant in order to facilitate the investigation or prosecution of an offense, close quote. Under the new bill, quote, or to facilitate the migrant's recovery or rehabilitation, close quote. Interesting. The bill was passed in the House of Assembly on Monday. The opposition voted against it. The Prime Minister wrote last night that the, quote, if you only listen to the shouting in the streets, close quote, you would not know the, quote, facts, close quotes, of the bill, quote, until now. Prosecutors have had to assemble charges from a patchwork of different offenses, close quote. He said, quote, one section for an unlicensed vessel, another for illegal entry, another for forged documents. The criminal enterprise is obvious, yet the law has not always permitted the entire smuggling ring to be treated under one statute. Those who profit from this trade often position themselves in the background. They rent the boat, lease the house, move the money. They say, I was not on the sea. And that is in quotes also. While collecting the returns, while collecting the returns. Quote, the anti-smuggling bill in Parliament is designed to close that gap. Quote, it creates a new specific crime for the smuggling of migrants. Under this offense, a person may be charged if he or she, for financial or other benefit, plans or organizes the unlawful journey, supplies the vessel or aircraft, forges or provides documents, offers premises as a safe house or staging point, moves migrants within the Bahamas as part of the venture, or handles the payments. In plain language, everyone involved is now going to have a problem. Not just the captain of the boat. Quote, we gave the bill a formal name, but we should have called it the Lock Them Up Bill, and that's in quotes. Quote, combine new tools for prosecutors and law enforcement and harsher penalties for smuggling with the major investments we've made in our ability to patrol our waters, including very significant upgrades in technology, surveillance, and enforcement assets, along with hundreds of new Defense Force recruits and more professional training, and we are in the strongest position our country has ever been in to patrol our waters and to send home anyone entering illegally, close quotes. Davis said the country needs, quote, leaders mature enough to reach consensus on something as basic as not wanting the Bahamas to be used as a backdoor into the United States, close quotes. Quote, how little respect they have for Bahamians to argue that a bill that closes enforcement gaps when fighting transnational crime networks is somehow not in our national interests, close quote. He said, quote, understand this. This bill creates no new rights for those entering our waters illegally, close quotes. I mean, end of article, right? End of article. Let me say that first to let you guys know that's the end of it. But what I have to say there is that's what they've been saying from that time. They've been saying that this is not a bill to, it doesn't, this bill doesn't set any new laws in terms of people entering our waters illegally. They said that a lot. I'm pretty sure that they said that, but still, there's still dispute. There's still quarreling over this. Wow, what a time. New pairs eyed for PMH. Let's see what this says here. But with regards to the bill, that bill was, they had from October to dispute on this. Why did they wait until Christmas time? What a good question. Right? What a good question. Why did they wait until a time like this to dispute over that? And the funny thing is about it, it's about to be law. It is about to be law, and they are disputing. Wow. That is quite the pickle. But anyways, okay, new appears eyed for PMH. Let's see what this says. It says accident and emergency department chief of service Raquel Davis Hall leads a tour of the new accident and emergency department at PMH yesterday. All right. So this was posted. I'm trying to see when this was posted because I saw. Hold on. When was this posted? Okay, 43 minutes ago. That's when this was posted. Okay, so that means that we have this today. So they did that yesterday, Wednesday. That's when they did all of that stuff. Okay. Okay, officials at Princess Margaret Hospital are eyeing further renovations and repairs to the facility in the new year. Public Hospitals Authority PHA Managing Director Dr. Arbonette Roll said yesterday. Roll noted that the long-awaited reopening and transition of patients to the new accident and emergency A&E department will conclude next week. Will conclude next week. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Michael Darville announced last week that construction on the new A&E facility was finally done, and critical spaces of A&E were being moved into the new space. On the sidelines of the Governor General's annual visit to PMH, Roll told reporters that the pediatric wing will open next Thursday, finalizing the department's long-awaited completion. Okay. Quote, you cannot move an emergency room in one day. So we did a phased approach. Close quote. Roll said, quote, this phased approach happened on the 10th of November. We got those persons in. Quote, you notice we would have toured the pediatrics. That is going to happen on December 18th. And then we will have a final walkthrough. Renovations on PMH's department. PMH's A&E department, began in 2019 under the Free National Movement. Following under the Free National Movement, FNM, following the Progressive Liberal Party's PLP victory in the 2021 general election. Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darville, announced several dates for the department's completion during the mid-year budget debate in March. Darville said renovations were 80% complete and would be finished by May. In August, the health minister announced another delay in renovations, which was slated for a mid-September completion due to problems with procuring an air conditioning system. While touting the achievement, Rowe shared a number of plans officials have set for 2026 as they try to tackle the mounting issues plaguing PMH. Quote, PMH has a lot of infrastructural issues, close quote. Rowe said, quote, a few weeks ago, we were able to secure a loan to be able to do various developments. Quote, one of them is the repair of the children's ward and to renovate that. Quote, we also would have repaired some structural work a few years ago in anticipation of expanding, where we take care of our kidney patients. So we're very happy about that happening as well. Quote, also the eye ward and the surgical area to be able to perform those eye surgeries, close quote. She added, quote, outside of that, we're also going to be doing some work with some flooring that needs to be repaired on the critical care side of things, close quote. Rowe said, one of the biggest projects the government is looking forward to next year is the overhaul of PMH's kitchen, which has been closed for over a year. Wow. Rowe said there were critical issues that needed to be addressed prior to the kitchen's closure, but once the space became a safety hazard, the decision was officially made. PMH has been utilizing the University of the Bahamas cafeteria since the closure. Rowe said all the architectural and mechanical work is being finalized now. Quote, the whole flow, how you will be able to receive food and sit down in the cafeteria and eat it, as well as inpatient service will be new, in brackets, close quotes. Rowe said, quote, we're moving with new things like even a butcher station that allows us to procure our goods at a price that's lower than what we procure now, close quote. She added, quote, it is hopeful by the first quarter in 2026 that we'll be able to start, close quote. End of article. Okay, so this was an interesting article. Now, everybody's been talking about PMH have been through World War III, perhaps, in terms of its structures and stuff like that. Now, in terms of how negative, how horrible it is, how how decrepit it is. Sorry, this thing moved. Let me position it and fix it. But everybody's been talking about that. So I think that things should get better. Things should get better. And based on what they're saying, things should get better. I don't think it's gonna be all rough like that on how it was before if everything is going to plan. But if it's like these other institutions and stuff like that in terms of how things are managed, especially under these administrations, I don't think that it's going to change much. Because we see it all the time with the roads and stuff like that, and how administration after administration, all they've been doing was patches. They didn't fix the roads. The potholes still appear after it rained and everything. So we have to see how it goes. And then election coming up next year too. Oh boy. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna stick a pin right there for the day because I have other stuff to attend to. But this was nice. This was really, really nice. Um, if you guys are wondering about the blind perspective, I am going to do the first episode of that whenever possible. And what I'm going to do in that is I am going to talk about a lot of things. We could even weave in what we're talking about here. We're probably going to migrate all of these things. So where I take a look at articles. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to try and link the idea of all of these articles. Like, for example, dealing with disabled patients, PMH, dealing with disabled patients, making the environment more accessible and disabled friendly. How are they going to manage that? Well, we can talk about that in the blind perspective. So, you know what? That's going to be the first episode. We're going to talk about it. We're going to weave the article. We're going to, you know how the soul people do the needle and thread? We're going to that. We're going to link a needle, which is this article here, weave that through the blind perspective, and talk about how are we going to treat the disabled patients in the hospital. That's what we're going to do. So until next time, you guys can comment and let me know what you think about these articles I read, about the bill, about this PMH article. But until then, I will see you guys. In fact, I'll catch you guys tomorrow for news. And if I decide to do the first episode of The Blind Perspective today, I'll catch you guys there too. So you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and of course, keep on vibing. Thank you.